unicorns, and welcome back to my channel. If this is the first time that you're on my channel, my name is Vanessa and I, and welcome to the fam. Guys, when I say these angel messages are urgent, I mean it. Which is why in today's pick a card reading, I have dedicated 4 groups to bringing you urgent angel messages that you need to hear right now. So if you've been wondering about what to do next or how to feel about 2021, look no further, the Unicorn Mom has got you covered. So what I would like you to do is pick one of these 4 groups in order to receive your reading. So pick whichever crystal that you feel the most drawn towards and whichever crystal radiates the type of energy that you would like more of in your life. Whether this is the first time that you're on my channel or you've been here before, if you enjoy receiving these divine messages as well as positive vibes, make sure that you do not forget to subscribe to my channel in order to remain up to date on all of my latest uploads. It's completely free and I promise you will not regret it. So the 4 groups that I have prepared for you today are as follows. We have the Celestine representing group number 1. We have the Orange Calcite representing group number 2. We have the Shadow Angel Aura Quartz representing group number 3, as well as the Vanadinite, which represents group number 4. And as usual, all the timestamps to the 4 groups can be found down below in the description box, as well as pinned to the comment section for quick and easy access. So I will be talking more about each crystal within the individual groups, while simultaneously bringing to you your urgent angel messages. So I will be starting off with the first group, which corresponds to the Celestine, and to all of my other fabulous groups, I will catch you at the click of your timestamp. Hello group number 1 and welcome to your reading. So you chose the Celestine group number 1. Let's do a quick close-up of your gemstone, shall we? So this is what the Celestine looks like. It is this beautiful baby or pastel blue stone. I will leave a link to the ones that I sell in my crystal shop down below in the description box. Those are about 2 to 3 times the size of this one. So while you may have chosen this crystal for its gorgeous appearance, there may also be a deeper underlying meaning, because this crystal is one that helps you find tranquility as well as your personal equilibrium, your personal center, if you will, and it really like soothes anybody with anxiety and anybody who's feeling really stressed out. So that's just a little tidbit of information as to why you may have intuitively chosen this stone. But let's move into your reading to figure out exactly what urgent angel messages are present for you. So we have the Bridge, we have the Destroyer, as well as the Vow. So this is a really interesting combo, group number 1. So I see here in the Vow as well as the Destroyer that to some extent a promise is going to be broken, okay? To some extent, there is going to be tension, but I see here in the Bridge that ultimately it is for the greater good. So just think to yourself about how many people you know who have been in unhappy relationships or marriages, and they had to kind of break apart. They had to come to this point where they decide that they can no longer continue on with this vow, with this promise that they made to one another, and that then actually creates this bridge where they can both either individually lead lives that make them happy or are able to actually find together again romantically. So this is a type of energy that I see here that your angels want to communicate to you. Now, the reason why this may have showed up for you, group number 1, could be because you take promises very seriously. Once you have kind of like made a vow, once you have given somebody your word, you are not the type of person to just change your mind on sticking to that promise. You're not the type of person to just flake or kind of bail on others. So that is where you're being reminded of the fact that just because you made a promise or you took a vow doesn't mean that it is appropriate in every stage of your life. You know, things change, people change, and it is important for you to know that you cannot always uphold every single promise or commitment, and that ultimately if you try to do so, if you try to force holding on to a commitment, it may just end up in destruction. Whereas if you just cordially or in a timely manner are able to separate, then you won't have to go through so much pain and trauma when destruction does occur, and you can go straight to building a bridge of healing and maybe even coming to a place where the relationship has hope again, or where the relationship can find a mutually respectful and happy place. So this does not only need to be for a romantic relationship, group number one, this also applies to platonic relationships, okay? Don't feel pressured to stick to things that you promised a long time ago, or have the relationship be just as deep or as intimate as it once was, okay? Things change and you have to adapt. You cannot kind of hurt yourself just to please somebody else, or just to stick to a promise or a vow that you initially made. Next up, we have strength. Now, group number one, your angels clearly want to kind of prop you up with a little bit of this extra strength, and to remind you that strength isn't necessarily a physical trait or a trait that is exclusive to those that follow through with promises regardless of the situation. But a great deal of strength can also be displayed by people just being honest and coming clean and saying, look, maybe I moved into this relationship or made this promise in a haste, or when I was in a different place in my life, but now that I'm where I currently stand, it is maybe not appropriate for me anymore. So strength is really just admitting to yourself and to others when things have changed, rather than putting up a facade just to please others or just to please society. Next up, we have the Five of Cups. Now, the Five of Cups is a card that really just discusses this emotional turmoil that you may feel when coming clean, okay? You may feel very alone, group number one. You may feel kind of like nobody gets it, especially when you're being very honest and open with who you as a person are becoming at the core. This could be a preference that you have romantically with the type of person that you want to be with, or maybe you may feel differently about being LGBTQ+. It could be that you do not want a traditional job, but you want to move into a career that is more artsy, that is kind of frowned upon in your culture, society, or family. So that is where I see in the Five of Cups that the fact that you're changing your mind and you're not going to, you know, just be that normal person that you once vowed to be is something that you definitely are going to be struggling with the more time passes by, that you kind of like remain in this strenuous position that isn't authentic. So it's important for you to build this bridge in order to avoid too much pain, in order to avoid too much destruction. Now, group number one, you may ask yourself, how do I build this bridge, right? And it is important for you to first be honest with yourself, to first be honest with yourself about the fact that you are a human being, which means that you will contradict yourself. There is no living being, no human being on this earth that has never had anything contradictory within their life. So that is where you have to remind yourself that just because you've taken a vow or you've put out a certain image of yourself to the world doesn't mean that that is what you need to stick to forever, okay? You didn't sign a contract that said, well, maybe you did sign a contract, but even those can be amended, even those can be canceled. But what I'm trying to say here in the vow is that you did not sign a contract when you came into being that you would be one type of person for the rest of your existence. It is your life, your choice, and you need to live it, group number one, and not allowing anybody to pressure you into being something that you once were or remaining the same because that's how they like you. No, group number one, you need to like you, and that's the type of energy that you have to put forth throughout 2021. I see here in the Calcite that your heart chakra is most likely going to be out of balance for a little bit during this healing process because yes, your energy is a little bit all over the place. It isn't where it needs to be, but that is something that is completely normal when you're going through through large transitions of your own identity, as well as the identity that you put out for the world to see. And you may feel kind of fake or almost phony when you begin with this process. Like, for example, when I started venturing into more depth, into more spirituality, it felt almost phony. It felt almost like, oh, aren't I supposed to be this over-the-top makeup glamazon person that people knew me as up until this point? But that's where I had to realize, like, no, okay, I only feel weird because of how other people want to see me. I don't feel weird because this isn't me. I'm moving into this space, so clearly I'm drawn to it. Clearly I'm drawn to this change. So that's where you have to come to this realization and this epiphany as to why you feel phony, why you feel weird. And you will come to realize that 9 times out of 10, you feel weird because you're worried of how other people perceive you. And that's where strength comes into play, group number 1, and where you have to understand that true strength is the ability to move past that and see past that and not allow that to dictate your life. Next, we have the obsidian. So in the obsidian, know that you're protected and know that the universe has your back, okay? The fact that you are wanting to branch out and to maybe be more eclectic or be, in a sense, very different is something that can leave you feeling very vulnerable. But in the obsidian, I want you to know that you have protection around you by people who love you and by people who truly believe in your growth and the fact that it is healthy for you to go with the times. Next, we have the chastolite. So in the chastolite, I can see here that past loved ones are also sending you a lot of an increase in energy, if you will, a lot of energy that is supporting you and that's reminding you that your past loved ones or any living being that was a significant influence in your life up until they left the earthly realms and maybe even beyond, they fought really hard and they were here to support you for a reason. And remind yourself how much they would just want you to be happy and how much they would want you to be authentic and be yourself, regardless of what anybody thinks. And this runs very deep for a lot of ethnic people as well, for a lot of people who come from backgrounds where historically their ancestors had to face oppression, had to deal with oppression. That is where the stone really comes into play and signifies the energy that your ancestors are trying to pass down to you, to remind you of the fact that they fought so hard so that you could lead a free and more empowered life. So this is not only something that is very much a truth for people of various different backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, but this is just for humanity, being a human in general, a truth that we need to remember, that our ancestors as a whole have gone through a lot of pain and suffering to get us to this point, and they didn't give up despite the fact that they didn't know much about the past or the future. Knowing things about history and actually using the history as an artifact that can allow us to see into the future, that can allow us to get a little glimpse of what the future may look like, is a very new thing, okay? So allow yourself to use all of this knowledge that we have at our fingertips and to remind yourself that we don't have it that bad, because with a lot of knowledge comes a lot of power. So we do really live in a very powerful age, in a very powerful time. Next, we have death rites. So I can see here in death rites that you have to kind of come to terms with the fact that you're saying goodbye to a big part of yourself, group number 1. And there's a reason why these angel messages were so important for you to receive. There's a reason why you're here right now, group number 1. And I want you to know here that the Celestine is giving you this calming and reassuring energy. That's why you chose this stone. And the fact that we have these death rites show up within your reading shows that it is time for you to formally say goodbye to a part of yourself that you have outgrown. And by formally saying goodbye, I mean actually like throwing a little fest, a little party, doing a little ritual where you dress up for the occasion, okay? Preferably maybe all black or just a color that represents a rebirth for you. It could be, for example, red, like rising from the ashes, like a phoenix. That could be a really great analogy that you want to follow, and then wear something that's red or orange that's like a flame, and actually take time to just say goodbye to that space, to say goodbye to that version of yourself. So this is where this card comes into play and is trying to communicate to you to take a little moment. So potentially just taking, for example, an hour of your day to dress up, to light a candle, to write down how you feel and burn that piece of paper, or keep it somewhere safe if you prefer to keep it safe than to already let it go, but to have this formal kind of thank you and appreciation for what your past self taught you, but also this very graceful kind of goodbye party that you're throwing your old self while moving into new life, while moving into new existence. Next we have Burned by the Sun. So one thing that I can see here in Burned by the Sun is that as soon as you've kind of like formally accepted and let go of an old part of yourself, you're going to feel this surge of ambition, group number one. You're going to feel like you're reaching for something new, okay? And I can see here in Burned by the Sun that it's very easy for you to kind of burn out, okay, to do a little too much. So take things slowly, get into the new groove, using as much time as you need, using as much patience as you feel like you require, and giving yourself that time. Giving yourself the right for a very chill approach to come next to who you're becoming. So you can refine it, and so you can really take your time to perfect it, okay? Almost like kind of creating that perfect shape with a diamond. Next up, we have the Peacock Spirit. So the Peacock Spirit wants you to take your time in creating your best version of yourself for 2021, because the more time that you spend polishing, the more time you will have to shine, right? So just think of it this way. If you put yourself in a beautiful setting without taking enough time to polish, to make sure that you have the exact right shape, and you put yourself in all the right settings, no amount of light and no amount of influence from the outside is going to make you sparkle and shine, because you didn't spend enough time working on yourself, polishing your best version of yourself. So make sure that that is like the focal point, because just as with beautiful jewelry, what really counts isn't the setting, right? It is the stone, and it is the quality of the stone, the clarity, the color, the cut, all of those things, the carat. It is so important for you to see yourself as that beautiful gem, and to take enough time to make sure that you have polished yourself to the point where even a little bit of light, a little bit of positivity that is given to you can be reflected tenfold, group number one. Next, we have the Turtle Spirit. So in the Turtle Spirit, you have this confirmation by the universe that just a slow and steady approach is what you need. Slow and steady wins the race. And that ties in so beautifully with the Celestine, the gemstone of your choice, group number one, and just a confirmation that a calm mind is what is going to get you to the next level, is what's going to get you to that next place that you want to be in. So focus on that. Focus on slow and steady progress rather than perfection, rather than feeling this pressure to get there very quickly or have everything be really perfect in a quick manner, okay? Know that the more time that you take to really solidify change internally and mentally, the more longevity that that change will have. Just like when you're starting an instrument or you're looking into a new hobby, if you do it intensively for 1 or 2 days and you fall off for months, you have basically made no progress in that area of life, right? But if you continuously spend 10, 15 minutes a day, maybe a half hour every day or every 2 days on a project, on a subject, then over a few weeks and months, that is really going to build up and create something sustainable. Not only will you have a new habit, but you will also have something that you've created from that habit that is tangible for you to see and for you to enjoy. So group number 1, these are the important and urgent angel messages that are here for you, which is kind of like a big contradiction, right? Because these messages are urgent, but they're urgently trying to tell you to take a step back, relax, and take things slowly. So I truly hope that you enjoyed this reading, group number 1. Leave a little turtle emoji down below to let me know that you enjoyed your reading and that you made it all the way to the end. I'm sending you so much love, group number 1, and I will catch you in another one of my videos. Hello, group number 2, and welcome to your reading. So you chose the orange calcite, group number 2. Let's do a quick close-up of your stone. It is absolutely gorgeous. This is a very revitalizing and re-energizing type of stone, which may be why you ended up intuitively choosing it over the other crystals that were available. But let's move straight into your reading in order to figure out what urgent angel messages are present for you. So we have the medallion, we have the mountain, as well as the mother. Now, group number 2, one thing that I can see first and foremost in the mother is that there is this type of nurturing energy that is present for you to access, but you may not see it, okay? One thing that I can see here in the mountain is that there's so much work, there's so much stuff around you that it can be hard for you to see sometimes, that you just need a little bit of warmth and love and a little bit of a timeout, a little bit of a break. I see here in the medallion that overextending yourself is something that you can be guilty of, group number 2, which may be why you felt very drawn to this orange calcite, because it is such a revitalizing and re-energizing stone. But group number 2, this is kind of like abusing the energy of this stone, because you should not try to long for more revitalizing energy if your energy levels are depleted and low. What you should really do is rest. What you should really do is find out why they have gotten to the point where they're so depleted and low, and then make sure it doesn't happen again, okay? Make sure that you're preventing. Keep in mind that tomorrow isn't created tomorrow. Tomorrow is created today. So if you want a very successful tomorrow, a very successful next year or next month, you have to start creating that today. You do so by planning, by eating healthily, and by getting amazing rest and sleep, which is where I want you to know here in the mother that just giving yourself like a little warm nest and cocoon is sometimes so necessary, okay? Like taking a nice little evening for self-care and reminding yourself of the fact that there is this mountain of workload and of things for you to do always. Mountains will be there past you, past me, past any living organism, okay? They will always be there. So it's important for us to see the big picture and to not feel stressed out about things that aren't going anywhere anyways, okay? The only person who is going somewhere, the only person who is stressed out is you, group number 2. So let's move further into your reading. We have the Ace of Wands. So in the Ace of Wands, I see here that you have a great idea that can come to you that will give you a fresh beginning, a fresh type of outlook that you can have on workload, that you can have on downtime, and just a time that you can spend to regain your strength and energy. Next, we have the Six of Coins. So you may have to spend a little bit of money in order to feel that way. So by spending a little bit of money, I mean getting something that can support you in your endeavors. This could be spending money on a great book that you can read every evening or every morning. I wanted to say every evening, but then I thought like, you shouldn't always just read to fall asleep. It's also good to be very awake and present so you can take in as much information as necessary. But reading before bed is a lot more therapeutic and better for you than, for example, watching a show to fall asleep to, because the blue light that your screens emit, it actually kind of messes with your serotonin levels. So that is not a healthy thing to do. So if it's either a screen or a book, of course, a book. So back to investing a little bit of money. I just realized that I said the 6 of coins. This is the 8 of coins. I'm sorry for mixing that up. The 8 of coins is a very abundant type of symbol. The 8 of coins is all about an increase in your finances and sometimes also an increase in your spending habits. So this is not something that should surprise you, group number 2, but make sure that you're spending in a very smart way and in a way that is sustainable and is going to make your life better. So no fast fashion, okay? No takeouts that you don't need. Cook healthy meals at home with ingredients that were maybe a bit more expensive than buying the cheapest, but it's still cheaper than getting takeout, but it's so much healthier for you. Next up, we have the 8 of Wands. So we've already had the 8 show up twice for you, group number 2. So the number 8 is clearly your number right now, and the number 8 in numerology is that number of abundance. It is that number of wealth, both spiritually as well as on the material plane. So I can see here in the 8 of Wands that the new idea that you have on how to optimize your health and your life is an idea that is going to have you have an increase financially as well. So you're not just going to feel spiritually like things are going better and like you kind of feel less depressed or less anxious, but that is going to reflect very quickly in your bank account as well, group number 2, which is just something that I think we all like to hear. So do know that the more your personal life, the more your private life is in a place where you can relax and also in a place where you're taking care of yourself appropriately, the more that will reflect in dollar signs, okay? The more that will reflect in your business ventures as well. I can see here in the starfish spirit that that will open new possibilities for you financially in the business aspect. So opening new opportunities, being offered a promotion, for example, or having an opportunity for a business venture that you wouldn't have been able to see otherwise, because now all of a sudden the intuitive side of you is really on an all-time high because you've given yourself time to regenerate and also to remove any toxins out of your life that may have been lingering. I can see here in the electric eel spirit that bringing ideas to life is what is next for you, and one of the most important messages that you have present in regards to that is as follows. Okay, we have the chameleon spirit. So the most important thing that your angels want to communicate to you when it comes to bringing new ideas to life and just moving into this fresh kind of space is to act as if. Act as if you know what you're doing. Act as if you're confident even when you're not, because sometimes faking it till you make it is appropriate, group number 2. Sometimes you have to smile to trick your brain into thinking that things are going well, even though maybe internally you're freaking out, because who in this world can smile and be angry or down? It's very hard to do that. So know that you can do things physically to trick yourself emotionally when you need that little push. So think, for example, before giving a presentation or to get into a topic of conversation that might impact your work life. For example, if you're talking to your boss, if you're talking to a colleague, if you're talking to somebody who you might want to work with in business, just faking a little bit more confidence, faking a little bit more like security is appropriate, especially if you're somebody who doubts themselves a lot. Know that the more that you kind of teach yourself to actually feel confident, the more that you alert your brain like, hey, I'm smiling, so like things are good, the more it will actually become a habit and become real. But do make sure that it is in appropriate situations. Faking it till you make it isn't appropriate all the time. Next up, we have the dog spirit. So in the dog spirit, I can see here that your angels want you to be loyal to the things that you love. So no matter what your new business ideas or ventures may be loyal to things that are important to you, be loyal to your values and your morals. If the environment is important important to you, don't forget about it. Incorporate it in your business ventures. Just like, for example, whenever I can, I try to make sure that my business is running at a place where it's hurting the environment as little as possible, but I can still run my business in a way that it continues to grow. So those are all factors that the universe wants you to take note of and make a part of your moving forward. Next up, we have the lion spirit. So you're going to have to give a little bit before you receive, group number 2. So I see in the lion spirit that you're being called to be generous with other people, and sometimes you also kind of just have to act like you're able to be more generous than you really can be. So if you really do not have a lot of money just sitting around, if you're not a very financially wealthy person, know that sometimes you still need to get yourself out of your comfort zone and be generous as much as you can in order to unlock a flow of abundance coming into your life. So even if you don't have a lot of money, just spending $5 on a donation, on making somebody else's day by maybe just getting them a coffee or getting them a nice box of tea that they can comfort themselves with, that can go a very long way. So don't feel like being generous means having to spend X amount or having to give X amount. Generous is something that is very subjective, and generous is something that I want you to appropriately apply to your economic situation and be just as proud of yourself for spending $5 when you don't maybe necessarily have a lot of money to spare as, you know, spending $50,000 if you say have 10 million just sitting in the bank. Okay, be just as proud of yourself for those $5 because that's where it begins. That's where the whole mindset of generosity starts. Next, we have the Seraphinite. So in the Seraphinite, you're going to have to be honest to yourself about how you feel about your own value, your own morals. It is important for you to be very honest with yourself. If you just listen to that example about the $5 versus $50,000 in donation and gifts and generosity, and you kind of still feel cringy about being proud of yourself for $5, be honest with yourself, group number 2, because only then can you start to change things. Only then can you start to go deep and question yourself as to why you feel cringy about $5 and you would feel so much better about yourself about $50,000. Next, we have the jade as well as the malachite. Furthermore, we have the rose quartz and the fluorite. So we're gonna round up soon, group number 2. In the rose quartz, I can see here that a very important message for you to hear is a message of love, but also good luck. The jade is for lots of many different cultures, a stone that speaks of good luck, of good fortune, and in correspondence to the rose quartz, I definitely want you to know that this is a fantastic duo to show up within your reading, and it just shows that romantic love right now is something that will attract more luck into your life, but also remind yourself of the fact that you are divinely guided to more luck, but you have to listen. You can't just say to yourself, oh, I have this gut feeling, but rationally thinking I should do something else. No, group number 2, listen to that gut feeling. And I want you to know here in the malachite that if you're feeling very congested, if you're feeling like there's a lot of energy just sitting around you as well as your environment, put on your shoes after you watch this video. Take a little walk, especially if you have a dog. This is a great excuse for you to put on that leash, that collar, do this little vow that you're going to do it, okay? Leave a little dog walk emoji down below. Group number 2, if you're either taking your dog out or taking yourself out for a walk, put on those shoes and get some fresh air. Also, the air in your home can be more polluted than you believe it to be, which is another reason why if you can go out in the nature and it is safe for you to do so and it is accessible, you are being called to spend a lot more time with that fresh air and allowing yourself to just let go of any unwanted energies and leave them in another space that isn't your immediate surrounding. Now, group number 2, this is the reading that I received for you. I truly hope that you enjoyed these messages and that you found them insightful. Leave a little comment down below letting me know what really hit home for you, and I'll catch you in another one of my videos. Hello, group number 3, and welcome to your reading. So you chose the dark or shadow electroplated quartz. This is such a beautiful crystal. So this is a quartz that has been electroplated to have all of these beautiful different colors. If only my camera would focus. There we go. So this is what the stone of your choice looks like. It is absolutely beautiful. I will leave the link to these very unique pieces down below, as I have just recently stocked them in my crystal store. So you can check that out if you want, but let's move into your reading to figure out exactly what urgent angel messages are present for you, group number 3. So we have Agape, we have the Creator, as well as the Eternal Child. Now, group number 3, one thing that I can see here within your reading immediately is the fact that creativity is something that your angels want you to focus on in a very childlike way. So not feeling so afraid about creating something that isn't beautiful, not feeling afraid about creating something that looks like a 2-year-old did it. It's okay, group number 3. That's how you learn, that's how you get better at things. Remind yourself that when you look at artists or entrepreneurs, they weren't this person who you're now looking up to when they begun, okay? It took a lot of time and energy and effort, and that is where I see here in Agape that it is just something that you will learn along the way to not be so hard on yourself and not judge yourself by comparing to others. But you can start right now by embracing your inner child, by embracing this creative side of yourself that wants to come out but has maybe been shunned because you're too afraid of not creating something that is pleasing. So we have a card that just popped right out of this pile. Let's see what it is. The 9 of Wands. So in the 9 of Wands, I can see here that the way that you've been doing things in your life, it's getting old, it's getting stale, it's almost going rancid, group number 3, if I'm very honest with you, and it is time to refresh your routines, whether it be your morning routine, your nighttime routine. You most likely even have things that are just lying around in your house that you can actively use to refine your life and make it more fun and more pleasurable. Just think about it. Maybe you have nice face masks or nice crystals that you can incorporate in a morning routine or ritual or in an evening routine, and the only thing stopping you from doing so is just putting in a little bit of effort, right? Is procrastinating, being lazy. So I see here in the 9 of Wands that you're coming to a place where soon you're kind of going to be sick of it completely yourself, and a lot is going to change about how you do life and just, as I said, the different routines that you're implementing. Now let's see how that is going to impact you. Next we have the Ace of Cups. So that is going to allow you to establish more connections more easily. So if you're single, this is going to make you more attractive because you're then emitting this energy and this vibration that you're genuinely taking care of yourself and your needs, and you're genuinely kind of like concerned with every minute, every hour of the day, and you want every moment that you live to be meaningful and to be good. So that is where I see in the Ace of Cups that makes you more attractive, because people like other people who live in a very mindful way. Next we have the Fool. Now the Fool speaks of embarking on a new journey. So we already kind of touched upon this with you changing your habits, your routines, but I do also want you to know here in the Fool that this is kind of like a greater meaning that we have. The Fool is the first card, well, no, actually 0, but it is the first card that shows up in the major arcana. It is 0, quote unquote, because it starts actually at 0 and not at 1. So I want you to know here in the Fool that this means that you're moving into a new cycle altogether in your life. And with the Fool having this trusty little companion with him, this dog, this is a symbol of your natural instincts, and this is a symbol that you're being called to just act intuitively, act as you instinctually would and follow that sixth sense of yours that is inexplicable, but nevertheless it is there. Also, do not be afraid of setting your sights really high and seeing the big picture. Remind yourself that dreaming is something that you shouldn't limit, because I also catch myself doing that many times when I'm doing my goal boards, my yearly kind of manifestation boards. I'm like, okay, but 1 year isn't enough to do this, this, and that. And I'm like, why am I stifling myself while creating these boards? These boards are all about dreaming, all about being free, all about not limiting ourselves. But because we are often so affected by reality and be realistic and all of these other things that people like to say, we can often stifle our own dreaming. We can often stifle our own ability to manifest, or even just like come up, even just imagine things that we would want to manifest. Next, we have the Tower. So we literally just spoke about these limitations, and the fact that the Tower showed up is just a great sign that you're going to break down a lot of these limitations because you're sick of it, you're done with it. You don't want society and other people dictating anymore how successful that you can be or what you're able to accomplish and whatnot. You're coming to this deeper understanding that it is completely up to you. Just because you come from a certain background, or you look a certain way, or you have a certain economic standpoint right now, doesn't mean that you weren't destined to accomplish your dreams. So that is where in the Tower, I definitely see big changes coming for you. Next, we have discipline as well as hope. So one thing that is going to keep you going, group number 3, is the fact that you know that just being disciplined, remaining disciplined, and continuing to keep your head down and be focused, being consistent, training, practicing, that's going to get you to your goal. And for a lot of people who are entrepreneurs, who are creators, who have changed this world in the utmost positive way, all they had was hope. So remind yourself that you are just one of them. We are all this tribe that just runs on hope, and just knowing that when you stay consistent and you continue to try and fight, you are then going to eventually get there. You're eventually going to find success. But it is that hope that keeps you alive during being disciplined, even though maybe you don't want to or you're doubting yourself. That is like that key aspect. That is that most important thing for you to keep sacred, which is why group number 3, one of the most important messages that your angels have for you is to steer clear of any situation or anybody who rips away your hope. We've all been around that person who we talk to about dreams, about big aspirations, and for some reason they just say it's not possible, or they just feel as though they need to rip our hopes and our dreams to shreds, diminish them, or make them smaller. And that is often a coping mechanism used by people who are intimidated by their own dreams. So they kind of like try to diminish other people's dreams, or they're afraid of what they see in you, that they kind of don't even want you to be that successful. So they already try to like put you down well before you've gotten to where you need to go. And that is just something that your angels very strongly advise you to stay away from, because hope is something that is very sacred, and hope is something that has kept a lot of leaders and inspirational teachers of this world alive during times where others would have just succumbed to negativity or pain and suffering. Next, we have the Flamingo Spirit. Now in the Flamingo Spirit, group number 3, embrace the in-between. Embrace the stage where all you have is a vision that you're working towards. Whether it is creating a YouTube channel or a business, trust me, I've been there, and you just have like this vision of what you want it to be, and literally you just need to hope for the best and keep going with it. Wholeheartedly embrace that, and not just because you don't have any other choice or option, but because you're going to choose to live in those moments fully and wholly and happily instead of stressing out. I wish that I could have gone back in time, that I could go back in time and embrace all of the times that all I had was hope a lot more, because I would have been less stressed and I kind of would have been able to just live life a lot more. So embrace the in-betweens, learn from my mistakes, and don't ever take things too seriously to the point where life is just anxiety ridden. Next, we have the whale spirit. The whale spirit is trying to get you to focus and trust in the great mystery, to trust in the fact that tomorrow isn't promised. Neither is success, right? None of these things are promised, but just believing and continuing to push will most likely eventually get you there. I mean, it's gotten everybody prior to you there who refused to give up. But not knowing how you're going to get there, when it's going to happen, and what way it's going to happen, the more you can embrace that, the more it's just going to be a wow moment. The more it's going to be just this unexpected well of luck, this unexpected well of success that you suddenly hit, and you think to yourself, and now it makes sense why I went through all of those difficult times, or all of those times of not knowing. Next, we have the Larimar. So in the Larimar, I can see here that your throat chakra is affected by the upcoming weeks and months. Now, group number 3, it is essential for you to clear your throat chakra. The best way to do that is through being surrounded by water, but also speaking your mind. If you feel like you have no safe place to be honest and speak your mind, then even just writing in your journal or talking to yourself or an animal can be wildly helpful if you know that the person who you actually need to speak to and tell your opinion, whether they like it or not, if you know it's just going to cause drama or it's just going to like stir a commotion, that should not be the deciding factor as to whether your throat chakra, your energetic field in the throat, is clogged or not. Be in control, okay? And being in control, group number 3, means that you're going to clear and cleanse your throat chakra regardless of whether anybody else cooperates with that cleansing of your throat chakra or not, okay? And there are various ways how you can do that. Like I said, just talking to yourself if you need to, talking to your journal, talking to a 4-legged friend, just to like get the weight off of your shoulder, just to say it. So you've said it, it's out there, and you can continue to move on with your life. Next, we have the blue lace agate. So the blue lace agate, again, speaks of your throat chakra. And if you feel like your throat is feeling a little weird, a little scratchy, group number 3, often reoccurring problems with your throat, such as a sore throat or a very dry throat, can have to do with a lack of balance in your throat chakra. And this lack of balance can come from just kind of keeping things in a lot, not speaking your truth, or not saying how you feel because maybe you've been oppressed or you've been punished when you have done so, which I completely understand why that would make you very timid and have your throat chakra feel very clogged and inflamed and maybe even sore many times. So do know that these energetic fields in the body, they can get clogged up by emotional hurt, pain, and turmoil, by being stifled emotionally and mentally. So that is where I see here in the blue lace agate that it is important for you to get to the bottom of that, group number 3, and to free that, to empower yourself, to know that you can clear up any of those difficulties that you have energetically. You can do so with a professional, with, for example, a Reiki session. I will link my friend Jordan's business down below. Jordan does amazing coaching as well as Reiki sessions. She's done Reiki with me, and it has been just so helpful. It has really just helped cleanse and realign my chakras in so many different ways. So that is a way how you can do it, but you can, of course, like I said, just free yourself by yourself without needing anybody or any service. Next up, we have the carnelian. So in the carnelian, I can see here that your angels want to communicate to you, group number 3, that being confident is something that comes naturally when you are in alignment, and also to trust, to not feel like you can't be confident until you're successful or until you've reached a certain age or a certain social status. A lot of us feel like we can't be be confident until, say, we're married or we've had kids. Only then can we actually say something to somebody who has kids or somebody who is of a certain age, or only then is our opinion valid until we've reached a certain age or a certain amount of dollars that we've made or a certain amount of success that we have acquired or accomplished materially, spiritually, till we have gotten a certain yoga pose right. I mean, the list is endless of these conditions that we often create for ourselves as to, okay, I can be confident once I've reached this condition or once this condition has been met. And that is just so false, and that is something that we need to debunk. Group number 3, that is something that your angels want you to get rid of and to be aware of when you're doing that, and to remind yourself, like, you don't need to have done anything or have pleased anyone before you can be confident in yourself and be confident about the fact that you matter and your existence is so valid, and so are your fears, so are the things that you love, so are your interests. All of you is so valid and so important and shouldn't be just brushed under the rug, especially your opinions, as your throat chakra is something that your angels are concerned about. Especially that is something that you need to just free yourself of, okay? That you need to energetically make sure that you're cleansing, that you're getting back in alignment and not allowing this to become congested to the point where it's actually creating disease. Now, group number 3, this is a reading that I received for you. I really hope that you enjoyed it. I would say a big take home for you is definitely ensuring that you are speaking your mind, okay? That your throat chakra is something that you're actively keeping in alignment. Furthermore, also just reminding yourself of the fact that, you know, it's all about progress and not perfection, and that these little rituals that you do every day, whether you put on clothes, just to put on clothes, or to actually feel good and confident and feel comfortable, it's a big difference. And over many weeks and months and years, it has an effect on how you carry yourself and how you feel about yourself. And it therefore will also affect the health of you and your relationships, because your mood, all of that is dependent on how you go through life every single day. Now, group number 3, let me know down below in the comment section what hit home for you and what you really enjoyed from this reading, as well as leave a little star emoji in the comment section to let me and others know that this is the group that you chose and that you made it all the way to the end. I'm sending you so much love, and I'll catch you in another one of my readings. Hello, group number 4, and welcome to your reading. So you chose the Vanadinite group number 4. Let's do a quick close-up of the crystal of your choice. So this is what the Vanadinite looks like. It is a really beautiful mineral that is very sparkly, has this intense red color to it. Nice choice, but let's move into your reading in order to figure out exactly what urgent angel messages are present for you. So we have the heart, the lover, as well as the father. So father healing is something that is available to you, group number 4. If you have had a difficult or a strained relationship with a father figure in your life, do know that now is the time for you to heal. Now is the time for you to bring that back in balance. Call this person and let them know that you appreciate them or you love them, or just the fact that you want to bury the hatchet. That will go over really well at this point in time. So healing those types of relationships is available and is something that's very accessible right now. Furthermore, in the heart in conjunction to the lover, group number 4, you may have already kind of thought this as soon as you saw these cards. Romantic love, very accessible to you right now, but it is important that you focus on keeping these two things separate. And I know it's a really weird topic that not a lot of people speak about, but if you have abandonment issues by a fatherly figure, if you have any types of issues concerning a fatherly figure in your life, any type of father figure, that may reflect in your love life and in your choice of partners. Just think about it, okay? Especially if you've struggled with this type of image of what a father figure is. And this is by no means your fault, group number 4. This is just something that you may have had to go through that may have affected your love life. Furthermore, if you feel as though, you know, your relationship is in a good place with any fatherly figure that you've had, this can still affect your love life. You may still be looking for somebody who is close to that person. And when you think you found that person in a lover, but then they have other traits, that can sometimes cause friction because you have not even realized it subconsciously in your head. You have this ideal of what your partner should be, but you are then kind of like taken aback when they're not quite that, if you know what I mean. So that is where this like father figure energy stems from. Of course, if the partner that you're seeking out is a woman, you know, we all have feminine and masculine energy within ourselves. So don't feel as though just because we have this father show up that it has to be the traditional older gentleman. You know, we in this day and age, we can identify as whoever we want to identify, and my channel is open to that, is neutral to that. So don't feel as though we are assigning specific gender roles or assigning specific things to femininity or masculinity. So now group number 4, another important message that I see here before we move further into your reading. There's a lot going on here. I can see here in the heart as well as the lover that romantic love is something that can blossom now. Romantic love is something that you're being called to spend more time on, give more attention towards. So if you, for example, do have a partner, if you are married and you haven't been spending quite as much time as you should with your partner, prioritize them. And if you're single, prioritize a little bit more time on your love life instead of feeling like you don't have enough time. Next, we have the High Priestess. Now, the High Priestess is a very kind of like confident as well as out there person that people come to for advice. Now, that may be why you're here in this reading, okay, within this video, but I do also see that this High Priestess energy is maybe also energy that you're looking for around you, is maybe also energy that you need more of in your personal life. Let's figure out what this is all about. We have the Knave of Cups. So I do see here that High Priestess energy is the type of energy that you can get from a water sign who is potentially younger than you, which is kind of like rare for you to get advice from people who are younger than you. But I see here in the Knave of Cups that because they have very young and fun type of energy, you see a lot of inspiration in that, and you draw a lot of parallels to who you once were when you were younger, or who you identified as at one point in your life. So allowing yourself to be inspired by someone younger than you who has yet accomplished so much, that is one thing that I see here in the High Priestess. Next up, we have the Nine of Swords. So I do also see a certain element of fear or just kind of like judgment in yourself, because you look at some people who are younger than you and how far that they already are, quote unquote, speaking of like how much money they're making or how famous they are or how smart that they are, and you can judge yourself. This can kind of make you feel like you're really behind, and when you feel like you're behind on life, you wake up every day with a little less of a spring in your gait, okay, with a little less of like happiness, with a little less confidence, because you wake up already feeling like you are behind, already feeling like you're slow or like your progress isn't good enough. So that is where it is important for you to get yourself out of that rut. That is where it is important for you to just draw inspiration from those who are younger but have accomplished so much, but don't compare, because at the end of the day, you don't know what they've been through or what factors have propelled them to this place. And also you don't know if they're truly happy or not, or if they would actually like to switch lives with you for one day. Next, we have Justice. So all of my group number 4s in Justice, I can see that it's all about balance. Do you see how she's holding the scale, and she's sitting on this throne very comfortably and confidently, but at the same time, she kind of has a bit of an expression that shows that there is a bit of tension there. So you may have to be very hard on yourself. You may have to be very tense and real and direct with yourself as soon as your thoughts go into a space of comparison and of, you know, maybe actually even putting yourself down a little bit. You have to be hard on yourself, and you have to remind yourself, like, hey, we've all had different opportunities and we've all had a completely unique start to life. do not let that define your worth or your happiness just because somebody else is in a place that you want to go to. Next up, we have the Seven of Wands. And now in the Seven of Wands, I can see here that there is a little bit of deceit going on. Okay, in conjunction to the Lovers, I definitely see that this deceit has to do with romantic love. So be very watchful around you. If you are in a relationship, this deceit can be harmless from somebody trying to plan a surprise for you, but it can also be deceit of them thinking of being with somebody else or even texting somebody else, okay? Emotional cheating. But deceit is something that isn't necessarily present just in your love life. This is something that is close to you. This is energy that is in your immediate surroundings. So let's see what else we have here. We have the Creator. So one thing that I can see here is that it is right now, it's still a thought. Deceit and just kind of like straying, kind of being unfaithful. It is still a thought. It's not something that has turned into a reality yet. And as I said, it is in your immediate surroundings. So if you are single, you may be feeling that somebody is trying to cheat or somebody is trying to be deceitful from, say, your dad, your sibling, your best friend. Someone in their relationship may try to kind of step outside of the relationship and be with another person physically, maybe emotionally. So that is where I can see that you're being called to look out for the early telltale signs, as I can see here in the Mentor, that you can steer things back into balance. I see that in conjunction to Justice. You are like the mediator, you're like the person who can knock sense back into the situation and remind any participant in this cheating scenario that it's not worth it and that it's a very spur of the moment type of thing, and also to remind them of how amazing that their relationship is and how much they would be losing out on if they go behind another person's back. So that is one thing that I see that you have a lot of wisdom to share. Next, we have Discipline. So in Discipline, I do see here that this comes from a place of you always maybe having to have grown up too quickly. What I first wanted to say is always having to be like an adult ahead of time, or always having to be very grown up. This could be due to your economic situation or due to the fact that maybe you just didn't have as much attention as you needed growing up, or it wasn't given to you in a way that truly helped you, that was truly appropriate. So that is where I see here in Discipline that there is this grudge holding that can be here when you see somebody trying to ruin a good thing. There is this sense of, wow, like you are so privileged to even think of being deceitful to another person, where you feel like that is a privilege for somebody to even think that way, because you would have wished that you had a partner or somebody to even deceive in the first place, somebody who helped you to even like think that way in the first place. Not that you'd want to deceive them, but you get me, group number 4. Like you would have wished that you even have like that many people in your life and that many people who care to even like have the opportunity to let your mind wander into that direction, because to you just don't understand how people can ruin their relationships readily for something that in your eyes isn't worth it. Next, we have Love Conquers All. So we really have a lot about love in your reading, group number 4. So I can see here that lasting commitment and eternal love is something that will conquer in the end. So with your help and also with your guidance, I see that you're the type that can strengthen eternal love. And in your relationship, when you're with somebody who is your soulmate, they're not going to think of being with anybody else. But keep in mind, if they are your soulmate, they need to be somebody who's emotionally mature, as I can see here that this type of enduring loyalty is not something that you would find with like wolves. It's not something that you find with somebody who is selfish. Just think about it. If you lay with dogs or wolves, you'll get fleas. And the more that you surround yourself with people who are okay with cheating or are okay with emotionally cheating, whatever you want, so whatever it is that you want to call it, the more somebody who does not have that in their DNA or their nature associates with that crowd of people, the more they will start to kind of like think that maybe it's okay. But that's where we can also find compassion for people who need to be led down the right route, led down the route of loyalty, who don't know what loyalty is if they've never experienced it, right? If they've never seen it, if they've never been surrounded by loving parents or friends or family members who are also loyal to their partners, then they of course don't understand what a loyal, healthy relationship even is. Last but not least, we have the anti-HERVs. So one thing that I can see here is that a little bit of risk-taking and rule-breaking is still okay. Group number 4, you have a very strong moral compass, you have very high values, and just overall you're the type of person who likes to do things right and likes to do things in a way how you're not taking unnecessary risks. But I do want you to know that for your love life, taking risks is appropriate right now, and your angels want to urgently tell you to have fun, okay? And by taking risks, I mean talking to different people if you're single, trying out different relationships, and if they just don't fit the way you would like them to, you move on. And it's not actually like a risk, because the more you put yourself out there and the more unafraid that you are to just call it quits before you get too involved, because you know that it's not right for you and you know it never will be, the more you actually open up the possibility of being with the one. And if you are in a committed relationship or you're in a situationship, take a risk, okay? Try something new, try some new nice little outfits, maybe get yourself like a wig or two. Just try out different things to keep things spicy and to keep your partner's attention with you, so that you don't even need to deal with any thoughts of them straying, or with them even thinking like, oh, I wish we had a little more spontaneity, or we had a little bit more rule breaking within the relationship. So group number 4, this is a reading that I received for you, and I truly hope that you enjoyed it. Leave a little bat emoji down below in the comment section if you made it all the way to the end and you enjoyed it. I'm sending you so much love. I hope that you're staying safe, and I'll catch you in another one of my videos.